Good day, grade 12 learners. Welcome to today's English file lesson. My name is Karabo C. This lesson is brought to you by Gauteng Department of Education in collaboration with Saibono Discovery Center. Learners, you can get in touch with us using the WhatsApp interactive number, which is 064 748 8913. I'll repeat 064 748 8913. Our focus today is the literature study. The first question that I have to ask is, what is a genre? I'm sure you heard this word before. Before I can explain to you what a genre is, I want to give you an activity. Study the following words. Use the diagram to put them in the correct category. What do these words represent? We have hip hop, drill, rock, and R&B. Soul, classical, house, contemporary, deep house, underground hip hop, disco, and rap. I'm going to repeat the instruction. Study the following words that I have just read. Use the diagram to put them in the correct categories. What do these words represent? We've got hip hop, drill, rock, R&B, soul, classical, house, contemporary, disco, rap, underground hip hop, and deep house. Let the games begin. All these, I hope you have done, you have completed the exercise. You have given the words, you have put them in the correct order or category. All these words represent a genre called music. And in music, we have what? Rock. And then under rock, we have what? Classical, hardcore, and contemporary rock. Yes. And then we have house. Classified under house, there is a deep house, amapiano, and bacard. You can resonate, isn't it? You can identify. We have another genre called R&B, soul, disco, and funk. Lastly, we have hip hop. I'm sure you are a fan of hip hop, where you have your drill, your rap, and then underground hip hop. What is genre? Genre is a category of art that can be identified by what? By form, by content, as well as style. We identify this is an art that is identified by what? By its form, by content as well as style. Okay. In literature, genre is the classification of a work of writing. Again, work of writing by the type of writing and or content. So we classify a work of writing by the type of writing as well as what? As the content. Just as much as we classify what? Music. So we have the following genres. I want you to look at this for 2 minutes and then classify the book or the titles according to their genders. We have The Wind and the Boy. We have novels, short stories, Macbeth, The Slave Dealer, My Children, My Africa, poetry, A Bag of Sweets, Cry the Beloved Country, A Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, drama, Sonnet 73. I'm sure by now you have looked at your ATP. Your teacher has explained to you that you will be dealing with certain genres in 2024. Let's look at the genres in literature that we will be dealing with in the year 2024. The first genre is novels. And in novels, we have 2 of them. That is, Cry the Beloved Country as well as Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. The second genre that we are studying in 2024 is drama. And in drama, we have 2 titles. We have Macbeth as well as My Children, My Africa. You do not do the 2 novels, nor do you do the 2 dramas. Your school will opt for one of those. If we are doing a novel and a drama, we'd probably do Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, coupled with what? With Macbeth. Or Cry the Beloved Country with My Children, My Africa. Or your school would choose a different genre, which is what? A short story. And in short story, we have our book called Changes, a collection of short stories. Lastly, the last genre is poetry, and our poems are found in The Voice of the Land. What's happening in Cry the Beloved Country? Cry the Beloved Country is a novel set in 1948, and it was written by Alan Paton. And this novel is set, or it's a prelude to the apartheid in South Africa. It follows a black priest and a white farmer who must deal with news of a murder. Something bad has happened. Stephen Khumalo, the priest, has murdered who? James Jarvis' son, and their lives coincides at some point. So I hope by now you are on the 3rd chapter. You are reading ahead of your teacher, isn't it? Those that are doing Cry the Beloved Country. Enjoy the book. Enjoy the novel. Put a pack of tissues because you're going to cry. Then we have this mystery, A Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. This is an 1886 Gothic novel written by Robert Louis Stevenson. It follows a character called Gabriel John Utterson, a London-based legal practitioner, a lawyer, who investigates a series of strange occurrences between his friend Dr. Henry Jekyll and a murderous criminal named Edward Hyde. Dr. Jekyll is a client and a friend of the lawyer, Mr. Utterson, and has willed all his worldly possessions to Mr. Hyde. And by the way, who's that Mr. Hyde again? The murderous criminal. Then the lawyer, who has this critical thinking and mind, wants to do what? Wants to investigate what is happening around the will and around his friend. He must safeguard his client as well as his friend. Mr. Utterson has heard terrible stories about Mr. Hyde and wants to preserve the reputation of the good Dr. Henry Jekyll. He's my friend, I must look after him. He's my client, I must look after his interests. Against this criminal called Edward Hyde. In the dramas, we have Macbeth. And who's this Macbeth? We find ourselves with three witches who confront the general or the Scottish general Macbeth that he will one day be the king of Scotland. Intriguing, isn't it? Very interesting to be confronted with this or confronted by these three witches. He therefore is encouraged by his wife. Then Macbeth kills the king so that he can be what? He can become the king, the new king. After he kills the king, he becomes the king. And he doesn't stop. What does he do? He kills more people out of paranoia. Instead of enjoying, ironically, he doesn't enjoy the title of being the king of Scotland. Now he becomes very paranoid and he becomes a murderer or a killer. Civil war erupts to overthrow Macbeth, resulting in more death. There's death all over the shore. Our next drama is My Children, My Africa. My Children, My Africa. In a classroom in the Eastern Cape, Karoo town of Blackwater in South Africa, in 1984, we find a teacher, a very idealistic teacher, Mr. M, who seeks to provide a future for his gifted student, Tammy. He loves Tammy. He loves education. Then he sees potential in Tammy and he says, I want this gifted student to be at the top. Why? What does he do? He forms a debating team with Isabel, who is a spirited student from the local white school called Kamdebu. So we have a black school, Zolila High, found where? In Blackwater. We have Tammy there competing with Isabel, who comes from where? From Kamlebu. Our next genre is a short story. In our short stories, we have to study 8 titles. And what are those? We have Forbidden Love, Rejection, Evelyn, A Bag of Sweets, Class Act, The Wind and a Boy, The Girl Who Can, and lastly, Triumph in the Face of Adversity. Our last genre is poetry. Learners that are studying poetry have to do 10 poems, which are Reciprocities, Hard to Find, On the Grasshopper and the Cricket, Sonnet 73, What Life is Really Like, You Laughed and Laughed and Laughed, The Lake Isle of Innisfree, The Nightjar and Inkosazana, Yesezulwini, The Slave Driver, and lastly, Impersonate. Enjoy the poetry, learners, or enjoy the genre that your school have chosen. Remember, you're studying 2. We have how many genres? We have 4 genres. And out of the 4, how many do you study in 2024? You study only 2. Let us look at the features of literature study. We're going to enjoy the story, the plot, right? But we need to do or study deeper. For deeper meaning, we have to go through the plot, the setting, characters, figures of speech, tone, irony, theme, and we are going to think critically. We are going to deal with open-ended questions. And as we read or as we study, we need to do some critical thinking. And we are not just going to do that, but we're going to be intentional about studying all these features of literature. At the end of the year, after you have studied your literature set work, you are going to sit for an exam in June, and you're going to sit for an exam in the prelims, September, and lastly, at the end of the year. So you are going to accumulate your marks as you go, and you are going to engage actively with the question. What is the format of the question paper? The question paper consists of 4 sections. The novel for 35 marks, drama for 35 marks, short stories for 35 marks, lastly, poetry for 35 marks. Your study is out of 70. Your question paper consists of how many sections? 4 sections. What is the requirement? The requirement is you study 2 genres or 2 books, and then you answer 2 questions in all. You're not studying, you are not answering on all 4, but you are answering only on 2 questions. 1 question each from any 2 sections. We'll deal with that later. Your counterparts or your friends have just passed their grade 12 recently, They've written their exams in November, and these are the common errors that we find when learners or candidates sit for the literature paper. We must indicate to you as soon as now so that you can avoid making those errors. These are the common errors. Candidates do not follow instructions. As you are studying your literature, remember the golden mantra here is you follow instructions. The choice of gender remained a challenge for many candidates. What have I just said earlier? I said we have 4 genders and we have 6 questions, but at the end you must answer on 2 questions. So you need to know that you study 2, you ignore the rest. When you get a question paper, it will comprise, the question paper will have other questions, but you are going to concentrate only on the 2 you have studied in 2024. A common error again was the level 1 and 2 questions. When learners were supposed to recall information from the set work that they have studied, they did not do that. It was difficult. It was a challenge for them to remember the small little things or the small details that are found in the books. When you read, when you study, make sure you know everything. You cannot postpone the study of literature and wait when we write June exam, or when we write the prelim, or we write at the end of the year. Starting from now onwards, you have started already from last week, then you continue, you recall things, you ask yourself questions, you are actively involved in the study of literature. How do we prepare for grade 12 learners? Choose the questions based on the text you have studied, meaning you're going to focus only on 2. You cannot acquire insight into the set works without having mastered knowledge of the content. What does this mean? It means you have to sit down, allocate time, and sit and study. Read Macbeth, read your novel, Cry the Beloved Country, read your short stories, study your poetry. You cannot leave it to chance. The short stories and poetry must also be studied in detail, and we expect learners, you learner, to dedicate your time to read the texts ahead of the teacher. They've given you the set works already, isn't it? Please make time over the weekends or at night before you sleep or in the morning before you leave your bed to read, so that when the teacher stands in front of you in class and teach, you are able to be active and you participate actively, and you give your 100% attention as you are being taught and guided. You will be asking when the teacher explains and reads the book with you in class. You will raise your hand and say, when I was reading, when I was going through this scene or this short story, ma'am, teacher, this is what I have discovered. Can you please clarify or explain to me? then the teacher will be able to explain things that are not clear to you. When the teacher explains certain things, you will stand there or you will sit there and say, oh, now I understand. You will only do that when you have done what? When you have set time aside and you have done your study on your own. We need that active participation. The short stories may be short, but the detail must be taught and must be studied. Your teacher will teach you, and you will do what? You will study. The characters in the short stories are often not very complex, but they are all very important. Do your part. The teacher is going to prepare and teach you, and you are going to do what? To be an active participation in studying or in learning. That's what is expected of you. A lot of learners, this is one common error. They could not respond to the question of setting, or they could not respond fully to the question of setting. What do I mean by fully? The expectation is, as a learner, as a student of literature, you should be able to identify both the time and the place in whatever genre you are studying, whatever set work or literature you are studying. If you don't do that, you could lose marks. In most instances, candidates are able to identify the place, but they are unable to identify what? The time. This is a 2-mark question, but a lot of learners lose a mark for that. Let us look at fun ways to master the setting question. In the 2021 question paper and 2022, the question was describe the setting of the extract for 2 marks. And that required candidates or learners to mention the time for 1 mark and the place for 1 mark. 2023, learners were asked to describe the time and place where this extract is set. Kudos to the examiners. They wanted to make it easy for the candidates. But our learners misunderstood the concept of time. What do we mean when we say time? Place, you can mention the place. Time, let's see, where? Where is the story taking place? You will mention your time, isn't it? And then the question is, how do you know? That's the place. And for the time, when did this take place? We're not only looking for time as in 12 o'clock, midday, or that. When a particular thing happened, you have to have some form of explanation. What was taking place? When is the story taking place? And how do you know that? Let us read this extract to check the clues that reveal setting. Every extract that you will be reading, or every chapter or scene or poem, in most poems, not all of them, in short stories, you will find clues that reveal the setting. Alex shut the lid to his laptop with a loud clap. Some of the people sitting at the tables near him looked up from their books and gave him an annoyed look. Alex realized that he had disturbed them and held up his hand apologetically. The librarian turned toward him and shushed him loudly, perhaps louder than the noise that he had made. Alex put the laptop in his bag and began walking towards the door. He held his head down low. Now, let's see. Where is this story taking place? It is in the library. How do you know? There's a word there, the librarian, the laptop, the books, the people were looking at him annoyed. Where is this story taking place? How do you know? It is taking place in the library. Alex disturbed the people in the library when he closed his laptop. And the patrons were annoyed and the librarian scolded him. So we know when that was happening. Okay? So our question is answered. Place, library. When he disturbed everybody that was reading by shutting his laptop very loudly, and then the librarian scolded him loudly. Right. What is the setting? The setting is where and when the story takes place. The whole environment in which the character lives that you must take into consideration. It includes the time. You're taking into cognizance what? The whole environment in which the character lives. It includes the time. It includes the location, which is the place, the weather, the physical setting, as well as the atmosphere. All these things add up to what? To what we call the setting. Okay. There are general discussion or questions that need explanation. How do you go about those questions? Let's see. You must be able to respond to the general questions, that are relating to the book, that is the novel, or to the drama, or to the short story, or the poem. Boys and girls, make an effort to understand what we call action words. These are action words or instruction words, such as to describe, substantiate, identify, discuss, state. These are some of the action words that you are going to deal with in literature in 2024. These words must be learned and constantly reinforced. We need you to learn what is expected of you when you are asked to describe. Let's see. If a question requires you to describe what is required of you, you give a detailed account in words of something. You are describing something. You give a detailed account in words. Describe the setting. So you are going to give us the place and the time in words. There will be a question where you are required to identify. For instance, identify the figure of speech. You are required to do the following. You establish or you indicate who or what something or some who or what or someone or something is. Identify the figure of speech used here. You will give us what? Simile, metaphor. You are establishing what that thing is, or you are giving us the name of that particular thing that we are asking you of. Discuss your view. Definitely there is a question where you are required to discuss your view. And it is an open-ended question where you are required to give opinion. Your opinion, yes, we're interested in what you're thinking. And when you give your opinion, it should be backed up with what? With facts. And where do you get those facts? You get those facts from the text, from your drama, your novel, your short story, or your poem. When you discuss your view, you are showing something to be true, and you support that truth with what? With facts. You are claiming something to be true, and then you give us what? Facts to support your answer. If your question asks for your opinion, make sure to have at least one sentence per idea backing that opinion up. A question can come this way and say, Mr. M is a hero, or Mr. M can be admired. What is required of you? You are going to give us your opinion that you regard him as an admirable person, and because this is what he has done, you give us facts to back up your opinion. You are giving us a brief, clear form without too much detail or example. That is when you are asked to do what? To state. If we say state two facts, state an opinion, you are giving us, you present facts to us. Sort of examples. Action words must be learned and constantly reinforced. I repeat. That's what you must do this year. At the end of the lesson, when the teacher goes away from class, ask yourself questions. Use the action words that we have used. Describe. Discuss. What is my view about what we have learned today? Can I state two facts or two points with regards to the following? So you must be actively involved in studying your literature and in mastering the action words or the instruction words. You will get a question on false. A false question. Here, we do not want you to resort to irrelevant explanations and the inappropriate use of the negative form. We want you to provide the correct statement. Prove that the following statement is false. You are required to give us a positive statement or a statement that is going to make the false statement true. That's all that is required of you. And you can only answer that kind of a question if you have mastered your set work. Multiple choice questions. These are the other set of questions that you are going to get. Make sure you answer these questions correctly. Giveaway question, isn't it? Eliminate a technique to arrive at the correct answer. Don't just use guesswork. Just try and eliminate, this can be true, this can be true. Yes, this one is true. You will only know that when you have done what? When you know your text. You are going to be confronted, or you're going to learn about stage direction questions in the drama. The actual text must be studied. Summaries or watching the film version of the play must not be used as a substitute. I know there are people that are acting out My Children, My Africa. They are acting out Macbeth. That is not sufficient to make you pass grade 12. You can go watch those, but they are only additions. They leave out too much of what is in the text. Study the correct vocabulary to enable you to state the relevant actions. Stage direction, it is about actions. When you have studied your drama, you will be able to visualize what the actor must do on stage. It is the art and the design of putting on a play, and it must be studied so that you can understand how to respond to a question about staging. A familiar question is, if you were the director of the play, what would you tell Macbeth or Mr. M to do what? To do. Action. To do. Action. What must they do when saying these lines? You must visualize them. You must have the eye in the brain and see what is happening on stage. An instruction in the text of a play indicating what? The movement, the position, or the tone of an actor, or the sound effects and lighting that will help you to work out the stage direction. Again, visualize what is happening on stage. Tone questions. We are also going to learn what tone is. The past cohorts had difficulty in identifying the tone and explaining why a particular character would use that particular tone. You must also visualize this or act this out. Use the correct words for tone. When you have come late to class, your teacher is not going to say, you'll come late once and say, oh, what happened to you, Tom? And you will give an explanation. After 2 days, Tom, you arrive 30 minutes late. What is the teacher's tone going to be? You are always late. What tone have I used? Angry tone. At the beginning, I would ask, "Hey Tom, sit down. What happened to you? Why are you late, my boy? Okay, give him the chair. Give him the chair." The tone will be concerned, sympathizing with Tom's situation. But when the teacher now realizes that Tom is a habitual latecomer, will arrive at school or in class very late every day, then the tone will change and say, "I knew it. Tom will arrive late. What happened to you this time?" So the tone will be now of anger, impatience, that I don't understand what you are trying to pull. We have a set of questions again, irony, and I want you to pay particular attention in dealing with irony. Candidates were unable to score both marks It's a 2-mark question, but we cannot give you 1 mark. We want you to earn those 2 marks when you are able to identify the 2 elements when explaining the irony. Let's see. These are the recommendations that we are making to you on studying these stylistic devices. When dealing with tone, do not use generic terms such as negative, happy, or sad. Find other words. I'm sure your teacher has what we call tone of feeling wheels, and this will assist you in identifying the correct tone. When studying tone, remember that repetitive practice builds skill. Just before the bell goes in the morning or during break, you can imitate the teachers, or you can come up with your tone exercise and say, "Stand up and put this away. Don't leave these papers on the terrain. Pick up the papers." Oh, ooh, that was such a scrumptious sandwich. Thank you so much. And then you'd say that, and you ask your friend, "What tone have you used?" And they will also give a tone, and they will speak in such a manner, and you will identify a tone. Tom will do that. Gabriella will do that. Rose, you will do that as well, isn't it? You all volunteer or tone, how you speak, and the other ones will do what? Will identify the tone used, and they will explain why that they are using a particular tone. Pick up the papers. Do not litter. What tone have I used? Emphatic tone, angry tone. Why have I used that kind of a tone? Because the learners were littering, and I'm trying to stop the learners from throwing the papers all around. Digger lady, say to Tom, "Thank you, Tom, for carrying my books. You're such a gentleman." What tone has Digger lady used? A grateful, thankful tone. Why? Because Tom has been a gentleman and carried Digger lady's books. So you do that kind of exercise in the morning, when you come to school, or as you go home, as you walk home. play that kind of game. Don't gossip, right? Gossip about tone this afternoon. Thank you. Lists are useful as references, but not for memorization. Much as I say, you can use the wheels, but practice, 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 and that will earn us marks. Shifts matter. The tone will be the angry tone, the sweet tone, emphatic, polite, those kind of tones. And questions. Focus. We have the verbal irony. We read the words and we try and work out the irony in particular words. This is a figure of speech where the speaker says one thing but means the opposite. And learners, be careful here. When we ask you to respond or to identify, to discuss the tone used in a particular line, we do not want you to answer in this fashion and say where the speaker says one thing but means the opposite. We want to see that one thing and we want to see the opposite. We want to see the one thing when they say the one thing, and then we want to see the opposite. Let's look at this example. You look really nice today. To a person who's clearly disheveled or untidy. That's ironic, isn't it? Or, I'm going to use the very same example about Tom coming late to class. Come in. Tom arrives. Oh, look at our early bed. Come on in, Tom. You are so early. And remember, Tom is a habitual late comer. So what has the teacher done? The teacher is commending or praising Tom for arriving early, but Tom has come to school when? Late. The teacher is saying Tom is an early bird, yet we all know that Tom has arrived late, so there's irony. Okay. You say one thing, but you mean the other. The other would be Tom is a late comer. You are a late comer. So the teacher is tired now of using that tone, that harsh tone, that angry tone of saying, you are late again. But says, oh, welcome, Tom. You are such an early bird. And that's ironic. Tom is a late comer. The teacher praises Tom or tells Tom that he is an early bird, but we know that Tom has arrived late to school. Let's look at a few examples of irony. Irony, like all other aspects of literature, should be intentional. Is it not ironic? Let's look at this. When someone creates an anti-technology website, but they are using what? Technology. Right. And they love technology. That's ironic. When you take the elevator, you know what an elevator is? We normally call it a lift, right? Elevator. To get to the gym. Wouldn't it help because you want to lose weight or you want to stay fit? What would you do? You will walk up the steps. Up to the 5th floor instead of getting into an elevator or a lift and then pointing out and then the lift going up. That is ironic, isn't it? The next one is when you fall asleep reading a book on how to battle insomnia. What is an insomniac? A person who doesn't fall asleep easily, isn't it? Who battles with sleep. Now, they take a book to read on how to fall asleep. When you fall asleep when reading a book on how to battle insomnia. When a marriage counselor files for divorce, a marriage counselor is a specialist in the marriage field. And people queue and come and sit on her couch, and she will tell them, or he will tell them, what to do to avoid divorce. But at the end of the day, what happens? She goes and do what? And file for a divorce. Her remedy is not working, or her advice is not working. When a police station is robbed, when somebody mugs us or steals from us or robs us, what do? We run to the police station. We expect the police to do what? To help us and arrest criminal. But here comes the men, 2 men with balaclavas, and they come and point guns at the police and say, bring your cell phone, bring your cell phone. And then that is ironic, isn't it? Where are we going to run to when a police station is robbed? Lastly, when a psychic cancels a show because of unforeseen circumstances. A psychic was a psychic. A psychic is somebody who can see far and beyond things that are going to happen. They use a big crystal ball and they look at it and they see the future. Now, our lovely psychic does what? Cancels a show because of unforeseen circumstances. Why didn't he see those circumstances? They must not be unforeseen. It should be seen for circumstances when it comes to a psychic. Characterization questions. Candidates could provide a character trait, but they were unable to substantiate their choice based on the extract. So again, based on the extract, choice based on the extract. What does it tell us? That you can guess a character trait, but you need a deeper information that is text-based, an example from your novel, an example from your drama, an example from your short story, or lastly, from the poem, if that poem has characters. What is characterization? Characterization is the act of creating and describing characters in literature. You can also describe personalities in your class, personalities at home, personalities in the on the football pitch. Characterization includes both a description of a character's physical attributes as well as the character's personality. Let's look at it. character trait, the way that the character acts or thinks and speaks. How I act, how I think, and how we speak. That makes up your character trait. My physical attributes as well as my personality forms part of my character, but the character traits will be the way I act, the way I think, the way I speak. Let's look at this. Characterization must be studied in context. A character trait cannot be attributed to a character without referring to a behavior to substantiate it. You must be able to identify character traits from a particular given passage. Our Tom is a late comer, isn't it? He arrives late every day. He arrived late on Monday, on Thursday, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, every day he arrives late. So he is a habitual latecomer. That's his character trait. When you study your character traits, you must focus on all or characters. Not only character traits, but characterization. You must focus on all the characters in a text and not only the main characters. I'm going to go to the third bullet again. You should be able to identify character traits from a particular given passage and must have the ability to substantiate from the passage. What do we use for characterization? Those words, we call those words adjectives that describe the character and their personality. Let's look at a few examples of the characters. Hardworking. We see that person is seated on the desk. Hardworking. Tom again, sleeping on the desk because he's late, he's forever late. Now we call him lazy. Then we have this Witumelo who draws beautiful flowers, and we say she is very creative. Then you meet your friend who is very broad-minded. They give us a lot of discussion, questions, and they give us input, and we say they are broad-minded. Your friend, even though you know you are messing up and people want to crucify you, they are always very faithful, they are loyal, they will speak good of you. And then we take it that a person, a nun or a churchgoer is very kind. Then soldiers that are running in the street and police chasing people, we say that's courageous. We have loyal, we have modest, tidy young man who comes to school in a school tie and a blazer all the time. We call him a very tidy person. And this girl like Isabel, who stands in front of the class and debate and challenges Tammy, we will say she is very confident. And a happy chappy that you have a friend who's just jumping around and playing with you, we say that is a very cheerful person. So kindly learn all these character traits, and they are rooted on the personality of every person. But they you don't just label them that way. It should be based on what they do or say where in the text. Okay. Okay. Right, we are moving right along. I'm sorry about this. Okay. I think we're going to take just a minute break and we will come back.
Believe in yourself. Believe a little more in yourself, because to those that believe, nothing is impossible. You have done this before. You have passed your tests before. You have went into a higher grade before. It is possible because you have done it before. Do not doubt yourself. Keep believing in yourself. Keep pushing, because this can be done and you can be great. You have been given power to decide whether you want good results in your life, in your schoolwork, or you want bad results. As Tony Robbins said, it is in the moment of your decision that your destiny is shaped. And your destiny is shaped right now with the decisions that you are currently making in your schoolwork. So decide whether you want to be an A student and start working on it, because there is power inside of you. The infinite power is inside of you, and the time you decide to tap in that power, you will become who you want to become in your schoolwork. The road to success is to commit to yourself. In order for you to become who you want to become as a student, you need to commit to reading your books, to studying, to bettering yourself. I know it's not going to be easy. Actually, no one said it's going to be easy. But if you put in the work, the results will show in your life. Tap into your power. Sometimes you will feel like putting away your books, and not reading as much as you're supposed to be. But I want you to commit, because through commitment, there is infinite power. I want you to ask yourself these 3 questions. Number 1, what do I want? Do I want to become an A student, or do I want to become an average student? Number 2, I want you to ask yourself, how do you plan on getting there? Are you going to put more extra hours, or are you going to just sleep? Number 3, who will be with you in this journey? Because it is important that we associate ourselves with students who have the same vision as us, who want to become A students, who want to put in the extra work, who want to become better at what they do. Unsuccessful people do not plan. They just let life happen to them. But successful people are planning on how they want their lives to be. And right now, you plan on how you want your results at the end of the year to be like.
Welcome back, grade 12 learners. Welcome back. We are moving on to figures of speech questions. Explanation of figures of speech as used in a particular extract is still an area of concern as candidates gave the meaning of a particular figure of speech. Learners want to tell us what personification is, or what is a simile, or what is a metaphor. Figures of speech is a creative use of language to generate an effect. We have common figures of speech that would include a simile, metaphor, pun, personification, hyperbole, understatement, paradox, and oxymoron. Okay, grade 12 learners, what is a simile? A simile is the comparison of two unrelated concepts, suggesting a similarity between them. And what do we use? We use like or as. But don't give us this explanation in your written activities in class or your exams. Let's look at an example. We were packed in a room like sardines. Or Tom is as slow as a tortoise. Why was this particular figure of speech used? There were a lot of people in a small room, and we all felt like sardines packed in that tin. Tom was not moving fast like we expected, but his walk was so slow, like how a tortoise would walk. You know how a tortoise walks, isn't it? So slow. And that's the reason why Tom is coming to school late, because he walks as slow as a tortoise. Metaphor. Two things are compared, usually stating one thing as another. The exam was a piece of cake. So this person is describing the exam, that it was so easy, like you are eating a piece of cake. A piece of cake is delicious, isn't it? And it melts in your mouth. That's how the exam felt like. It was so easy and so exciting. A pun. What's a pun? A pun is a play on words. These words will have two possible meanings. Puns are usually fun. Be the best you can be. We have a B, isn't it? B. And then we're asking you to be what? To be the best person that you can be, like a bee. Personification. We're giving human qualities to objects or to ideas. The sunlight danced. The sun danced. Who danced? A human being always dances. But here we have a sun that's dancing. We're giving it human qualities. Hyperbole. Deliberate exaggeration for the sake of effect, as in, I am so hungry I could eat an elephant. Can we really eat an elephant that big? No, but that explains or describes the hunger that I am feeling. I can easily cut up the elephant to satisfy my hunger pangs. State of mind questions. This you will also get in your exam, or this is what we need to study throughout the year. In the past exams, candidates earned 1 mark for the correct state of mind, but they lost the 2nd mark for the incorrect substantiation. Pardon me. Candidates fail to understand that this question referred to the emotional aspect. Your state of mind refers to your emotional aspect or emotional aspect of the character. Your state of mind is your mood or your mental state at a particular time. So in the exam or as we do activities throughout the year, you will be asked the character state of mind. What do we require from you? You're going to give us a feeling. Plus what? Plus a reason why that person feels that way. So that will be 1 mark plus another mark. That will give us 2 marks. Or even if it is not for marks, but it will give us the best explanation of what the state of mind is of that particular character. So what happens here? It will be you angry, you are afraid, excited, happy, content, calm, negative, sad, and depressed. So also practice that. It's fun. Literature is fun, isn't it? Fun. Theme questions. Candidates often show a lack of understanding of the concept of a theme, the message, theme. Responses often were generalized. Some candidates give answers which are prepared and then try to make them fit the given question, while others show a lack of understanding of the concept of theme. Remember when you start reading your My Children, My Africa or Cry the Beloved Country, in the book or your teacher will be given particular themes. But even though there are certain things that we are going to learn throughout the year, please be ready to fit them at particular instances in the book or in the drama as it unfolds or in the novel as it unfolds. You read the extract and then you come up with a theme that is backed up by what is happening in the text. You cannot take a theme that you have pre-learned and then fit it in a particular scenario. Be actively involved with your extract. A theme is a universal truth or dominant impression of a story. Often they are related to the human condition and they refer to a particular or a specific group of people, and they deal or use abstract concepts or ideas, and they are usually or they tend to be universal. They do not have to hold true outside the story. The theme unfolds through characters, personalities, or actions. Like I said, even though you can pre-learn a theme, be so ready that you engage with a particular extract that you are able to pinpoint or to come up with a theme, a relevant theme that suits that particular scenario. There is usually more than one theme in every story. We have opinion-based questions. These questions or these ideas will develop your thinking, critical thinking skills. We want to have learners that go out of our classes to be critical thinkers. These skills can be sharpened by asking or arguing a point. You are arguing a point and you are defending an opinion. And you don't just do that outside our set works. You are guided by the set work, but you have an opinion. You engage actively with a particular set work that you are studying. You will get multiple opportunities to practice answering these types of questions. And as you do that, we employ you to use the peel method, which is you pointing out something, an idea, you giving an explanation, and you further give an example, and you link it back to the question. At the same time, being rooted, or your argument must be studied or must be grounded or linked to the text. You must know the plot of the set work. Your argument must be grounded in the text. Normally, they would ask you to discuss your view. Grade 12 learners, the last thought. Why do we study literature? To express our emotions and feelings or ideas, to have access culture, or to mirror one set of beliefs, culture, and traditions. When we study literature, it serves as a record of one's thoughts and experience accessible to others. It amplifies your own creativity. You develop empathy, because at some point you become so touched. That's why I said when you read Cry the Beloved Country, you will have your Kleenex with you now and again, dab your eyes. And it serves also as a channel to discover one's self. You discover yourself as you relate to certain characters. And you get inner peace. And it develops superior focus. You are able to tackle issues outside the classroom, and you are able to engage with your peers, and you are able to engage with other subjects. That's the reason why we study literature. And we want you to be critical thinkers. If we do not read, our performance is going to be down. A lack of reading culture is detrimental to learner performance. Reading with understanding has a positive impact on your performance and general appreciation of literature. When you have done your maths and your science, and you now come in to do your Macbeth, or you start reading Rejection and Forbidden Love as your short stories, or Cry the Beloved Country, it opens up a certain kind of world, and it gives you vision and your creativity. And when you are done with it, you're able to go back and fix the maths. Or you're going to use your maths in understanding your characters in literature. Grade 12 learners, thank you for watching this lesson. Please remember to be active participants in studying literature in 2024. It also has a place in your curriculum. Just as much as we want to ace our maths and get a level 7, we must also do that with our literature. All the best in 2024. See you next time, and goodbye.